Coming from Cincinnati, this is season 2 of The Spin Lob.
Welcome, everyone, to the Spin Lob. We are here with season 2, episode 1, with our first episode with water polo twins. I'm a twin, so this really holds close to my heart as well. We are joined with two homegrown water polo twins from Cincinnati, Alex and Amanda Puthoff. We are dipping our toe into two players that have birthed from two programs that are actually relatively new from the Cincinnati area, and they are an enormous part of how those programs have grown to tremendous talent and tremendous success. Gosh, Nick, it's been like a couple weeks and we've gotten together. How are things going on your side?
It's been going pretty well. Just, getting things all organized and school starting back up. That was, pretty hectic on that part, trying to figure out, I teach, 5 bells in a day, and 4 of them are virtual, one's face-to-face, and dealing with, kind of that whole change in nature and getting the kids back to their school. And then not let alone my kids, they're still virtual because Hamilton County went red on Thursday. So we got the phone call that instead of my kids going back face to face on Tuesday, there's still another couple weeks of virtual.
Holy cow. So it's been kind of a evolving door for you. First of all, I thought all you did was run a podcast and coach water polo. I didn't know you were teaching. What do you teach in your school?
So up at Sycamore, besides coaching, I'm teaching law studies, which is a freshman through senior class, military history through film, which is a sophomore through senior class. Then I have 2 bells of accelerated world history. So and and only my military history through film is the live one. All the other ones are on the computer, but I'm in my classroom with webcams and like 7 or 12 monitors up of all sorts of stuff. So a lot of tech.
Yeah, I bet. And hopefully technology continues to be on our side. I saw, not to put a stock ticker out there, but I saw Zoom, a public traded company, continues to grow massively because people still need that technology going forward with everything going on. So, and I know at my company, we use it every single day. We use WebEx as well to get meetings done and things like that. So, well, let's
Yeah.
keep on keeping on because it's got to be scary. So.
Yeah, and I can do a quick update on Ohio water polo because there is some good news coming out of things. Is the states are opening up with sports. You got football happening. You had baseball playoffs. Unfortunately, the entire Central Division for baseball got knocked out in one round. But water polo is also kind of getting back into it. From our Twitter research center at the Cincinnati Water Polo Institute, also known as my basement. It looks like there's multiple teams that are practicing on all different levels. So, like the high school level, you have Napoleon and St. X and Milford. They've been practicing. I've seen some tweets and some Instagram of Flop Fridays and practices going on. And then on the club side, you have Marlins that are running a 10 and under program, a 14 under program, and an 18 under program with practices all week. And I believe I saw that Glass City is getting in as well. And then on the college level, we have teams that are hopping in. Just recently saw a tweet from Akron University that they're getting in. University of Cincinnati, I believe, Mike, you mentioned that they were jumping in as well. And then I know Xavier University is trying to make plans for getting in for them as well. So it's good to see some of the colleges starting to be able to get back in. On the adult masters side, you see Ohio Squirrels have been practicing since at least May, and then Cleveland Masters has been up since I believe June or July as well. So we're starting to see some of the water come back, which is great to see. And that's kind of getting ourselves going. Now we do have swim season coming up shortly, and so that's that'll always puts a hamper on water polo because there's less pool time. But it just means that sports are coming back as normal. Now, swim team, from things I heard, they could only maybe have 4 players in a lane, which will be really interesting to see how they do that. And on the kind of looking at some other things that are going around the state, the Jose Cerda Aquatic Foundation is hosting the for that swim clinic. But if you're looking at that, you could head over to the Jose Cerda Aquatic Foundation website and get all the information on there. They've been a big active supporter of water polo across for the last couple of years, as well as swimming. So you can kind of check that out as well. But really, for water polo, that's all we've got right now. No real games, no competitions. I know there was from some tweets, it looks like there's some action going on in Pennsylvania. Looks like they had an outdoor tournament as well, and that's kind of really all I've got on the Ohio side of stuff, which means we can kind of get into talking with our guests tonight. We do have two fantastic guests, and I will let them introduce themselves in age order. So whoever got to come out first, you get to go first.
All right. Well, I'm Amanda, and I am the oldest of the two of us by 4 minutes. And I played for AMDG in high school, which was just a local club that we put together that a lot of girls from private schools and a couple of the public schools that didn't have any water polo team came together to play together.
All right, and like where are you currently at right now, and what's the step of water polo you're in, Amanda?
So I am in my master's program. I'm getting a master's in criminalistics at Gannon University, and I am still playing for our water polo team here, which is an NCAA Division II team.
All right, and Alex, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So I'm Alex Puthoff. I am the younger, as Amanda already stated. She loves to hold that over my head. I started my water polo career at St. Xavier High School down in Cincinnati. My freshman year was actually St. X's first year as a varsity team since the 70s. So I played there for 4 years. I went on to become a captain, and we actually won the state championship for high school my senior year. I also played on the Moose Club water polo team under truly Nick. And I went to 2 Junior Olympics with him. And since then, I've been playing at Ohio State for the past 4 years. I was the president of their club team. And we've had some great placements at nationals, and we actually switched from the Great Lakes Conference, where UC and Xavier play, to the Big Ten, our rightful home. And I just graduated from Ohio State with my bachelor's and master's in accounting, and started my full-time job at Ernst & Young in the audit practice last week.
That's amazing, both of you. That's incredible that you're still, exploring the world and driving through. It's tough not to be able to play water polo this time, obviously, Amanda, but I'm sure there's ways to figure that out. Ernst & Young, we have a location down here, Alex, down here in Cincinnati. So if you ever want to relocate, feel free. Love to have you. I know you've played with us a couple summers and played against them, of course. But we always remember, Alex, lefty, and Johan's usually the one that brings us up. Is remember Alex from that right side. You have to be careful with him because he's got a sharp shot. And so let's get into this. So I'm a twin, so this drives really close to my heart as well. And you both are twins. So twins playing polo is very unusual. When my coach in high school, and even when my brother and I played in college, we had that connection all the time. We knew exactly where we were in the pool. We knew the kind of pass we wanted and things like that. What kind of connection, and Alex, we'll start with you, what kind of connection did you have with your sister in playing water polo, even though you're on separate teams, but you're still playing the great sport at the same time? Talk us through that.
Sure. So I initially, throughout my childhood, I was a soccer player. I was a goalie, right? So up until high school, my freshman year, I tried out for the soccer team, didn't make it. I was apparently short to be a goalie at that time. But Amanda was actually the one that got me into water polo initially. She kind of forced me to go to one of St. X's kind of marketing events for the water polo club that they were starting up. And I went there, talked to a couple guys, and figured I'd give it a try. So from there, we were both playing water polo for our different teams, like you said, and we were considered brother and sister teams. She played for AMDG at the time, which I believe is now Mavericks, and I played for St. X. So we actually would play the same schools on our like league matches, which were on Tuesdays or Thursdays in high school. And it was cool getting to see her like grow up through the sport and meet all these girls from different high schools. I know she said that earlier. Her team wasn't an actual high school team. It was just a bunch of girls that didn't have water polo at their respective high schools. So it was cool watching her grow through that. And there was a little bit of, competition between me and her. I started specializing a little bit more in water polo toward the end of my high school career, whereas she was, both into swimming competitively and playing water polo at the same time. So I had a couple more chances to travel and play some high-level water polo. So being able to bring that back to Cincinnati and kind of help her learn a little bit was a really cool experience, and getting to talk to her about our different water polo experiences and skills and different moves we could pull on people. It was fun.
So Amanda, on your end, what kind of experience seeing your brother at the other side of the table and hearing about those experiences and experiencing kind of a lift in both programs? Mavericks / AMDG came from essentially nothing. There really wasn't a women's program like that before. And then St. X, they had a water polo team back in the 70s, and they had some momentum before Alex joined and things like that. Walk us through what kind of experience it was for you.
So when I was a freshman, like Alex said, I took him to a marketing event and got us both into it. I had decided that I wanted to play, and he wasn't quite sure. And then it ended up that he really liked it. So that was great for us to both be playing. But with my team being a brand new club team that wasn't even affiliated with any school, we did have a little bit of trouble getting numbers together, but it always ended up all right, except for when I was a freshman, I was the only freshman. So I was the first 4-year player and the only 4-year player for AMDG, actually, before it turned to Mavericks. So it was really cool for me to watch the program develop and get to watch St. X's program develop as well. And yeah, at dinner when we were at home or after our games, when we're driving back, we always got to talk about how that game went, what went well, what went wrong, and share a little bit of our experiences with each other in the water and help each other develop. And having Alex be able to have more time to travel, go to JOs with Moose and everything like that, he was really able to bring back a lot of skills and experiences and share those with me and help me develop, which I think has really gotten me to where I am today, which was playing for now 5 years because of COVID for Gannon.
So both of you guys have really kind of exploded onto the water polo scene at the college level as well. Alex, you being at Ohio State and really has become like one of the dominant teams in the state. Head into nationals multiple years in a row. And I remember going to nationals my freshman year, and it seemed like, Miami University was the team to beat. They're the ones that were always going. And it now seems to be like OSU is the place to go. And every year you guys seem to graduate and reload from another, star-studded group of Ohio graduates from high school coming in. So, really, can you walk us through the program that you played for and how you guys were able to develop such a powerhouse team?
Sure. So Ohio State, like I said, is a club water polo program. So they're not a divisional program. Um, they don't give out any scholarships, but we naturally being such a large school, we tend to attract some decent water polo players from both in Ohio and around the country. Um, we practice 4 nights a week for about an hour and a half, so it's a pretty rigorous commitment for a college club. And we practice throughout the fall. We play in the Big Ten Conference, so we play teams like Michigan State, Michigan, Indiana, etc. And we have a great coaching staff. I personally got to be coached by James Dauphiné and Ben McClurg, who are two of the brightest minds in water polo in Ohio, I'd say. And especially Ben McClurg, he was my coach the past couple of years at Ohio State, and he was great. He would really prioritize me as a lefty. He would really basically yell at me if I was on the wrong side of the pool. Like you said with Johan, he would always say, on that right side, be careful of the lefty. So I was only allowed to be on the right side, and it really helped me develop my shooting and my offensive power because back when I played for St. X, I was primarily a defensive player. I was our whole D, so it's been really good. And then being able to be the president of the team, I was able to make some really cool decisions. I was able to transfer us to the Big Ten Conference and run tournaments like the Labor Day tournament, which I know the Squirrels have been to before, and really just kind of develop the sport in Ohio as well as I could.
You mentioned having, two awesome coaches, and that's fantastic. Have you noticed a difference when you guys are playing a team that doesn't necessarily have a on deck coach? It's more of a player coach versus what happens with you guys having that coach on deck?
Absolutely. So in the Big Ten Conference and in the Great Lakes Conference, there's a few teams who tend to be the top teams that have on-deck coaches that are experienced, older people that are not in college that lead the team. And there's a few teams that also kind of are run by themselves or run with player coaches. And it's definitely very apparent throughout a game which team has a coach and which team doesn't, because certain things will happen and their team will fall apart, or you'll have a couple hotheads on a team that will get thrown out and it'll throw the game into disarray. And even just in practice, having a coach that has authority is so important, especially in college where everyone's an adult essentially. So being able to have that direction in a water polo program is pivotal in having a successful team.
So, Alex, you talked about being the president of the program, which congratulations, that's great.
Thank you.
Great for your own development, and great for for the club to keep going like that. It's a lot of work to run a club at the while you're in college. It's probably similar to running a fraternity. It's probably similar to running any club in the university. It's an add-on to your academics. Can you walk us through kind of things that outside of the Labor Day invitational, but kind of things that you did on a regular basis? Because I want people to hear that the value that's brought in while being a leader on a club, how valuable that can be as an individual, which is what you have obtained to.
Yeah, definitely. So running a club like that, yeah, like you said, is a lot of work, but it's so rewarding being able to have this club that's not only a sports team, but it's it's a community. It's all of these guys with the same interests that are centered around physical activity, but also have so much social activity outside of it. We're able to hang out on the weekends. We're able to have meals together on campus. We'll do community events together for for Ohio State in general. I know we've done some community service events in downtown Columbus before. And being able to be a part of all that, and especially to run all of that, is so it was very helpful in my development as a leader and as a kind of as a business major. I'm an accounting major, so I was the treasurer my sophomore year for the team. So I was in charge of you know um, all the funds, the dues that our members would pay, our fundraising. I was in charge of making sure that I went to the right place and that we had enough money to do all the things we wanted to do. And it just teaches you so many skills, both, technically and in leadership and people skills, that I would highly recommend trying to really be a big part of your organization.
Yeah, I agree. And I think Nick can agree with me too, that when we played club polo, because Nick played at UD and I played at OU, we had a core of leadership around us managing these things that, if you were just an ordinary player, you really don't notice that much. And it's a big deal. You have your president, treasurer. At OU, we had a safety officer. We had a coach, a player coach that would run the practices and things like that. And when you have that structure and you can, people start realizing the leadership that's within that, it really creates a very strong core of the program. And then you have opportunities for development like you did, and that's great. In reality, in my current job, that's the kind of people we're looking for. Is not just who ran a club sports team, but also who ran a fraternity, who was a leadership person on a fraternity. So I think it ties very close into future opportunities down the road, that you show that maturity and you show that you can lead a group of people in a certain direction for a certain initiative, not just water polo, but in anything. So I think it's a big deal. So I commend you for that, because it's a lot of work. And I know it's some anxiety every now and then too, not just playing polo. This is all about, you're managing a book, you're managing a business essentially. So I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Thank you.
and to kind of piggyback off of that, because I was kind of in the same role. Alex, you were in my senior year running the Dayton program, and people don't realize how much goes into that. The finances, the booking of tournaments, the conference calls of playoffs, and scheduling pool time, and all this stuff. Like it is a job that you're putting on, a college student to be responsible for, another set of his friends that, at times want to just be goofy, and and you gotta be like, no, we can't do that because of X, Y, and Z.
Right. And, there are so many things that you would never think of unless you were running the organization. Like, everyone would think you would have to pay refs for a tournament, but who would have thought about, giving them lunch halfway through the tournament, so that they're happy, they're fed, and they're, more willing to come back the next year.
Yeah. Agreed. All right, Amanda, on the other side of the spectrum, we're dealing with a varsity collegiate athlete. Congratulations. Walk us through your experience with Gannon and how that went.
Thank you, Mike. So I decided to come to Gannon because I wanted to play water polo if I had the opportunity, but I really wanted to focus on my career, which I ended up majoring in forensic science, which is a very not well-known type of career path, but it's growing and I love it. So I came in knowing that they had a water polo team, and I was super excited to sign for my coach at the time. And then I got the opportunity to swim as well, also on scholarship. It's Division II and everything. And so that changed my experience here a lot, actually. Having to balance two sports as well as school and other activities that I wanted to do was way more than I would have ever guessed. But I have loved every minute of it, and swimming has really brought me a lot of knowledge and leadership skills of such a big team, since it is a sport that our team is together between the men's team and the women's team, where most other sports, the seasons are split or they have separate coaches. So I've gotten to experience a team of 40 some people all traveling together, and really just enjoying my time with them in the winter. And then in the spring, I would move to the water polo team. And for about 2 months, I would actually do both sports for January and February. So I would go to water polo tournaments and play in games until I hit my taper for swimming. And then I would go and keep the book, but not actually play in any games at that point, until after our conference championships. But with water polo being such a small varsity sport in college, we didn't have as many opportunities to play teams around us. So we had to do a lot of traveling. In Division II, there are 8 women's teams, I believe. And so we are all in one conference, which is the WWPA, the Western Water Polo Association. So there's 2 Erie teams, a team from West Virginia, a team from St. Louis, and then about 4 teams from California. So the good thing about that is we get to travel out to California every other year when we're going to our conference championship tournament. So I got to go to San Diego as a sophomore, which was really exciting since I never got the opportunity to travel out with JOs and with the Moose Club. So we have also gotten the opportunity to host the conference championships not in Erie, but we hosted them in Geneva, Ohio at the Spire Institute. And that was a really exciting time for our team to get to host and run the tournament. And our boys team had to come help us and keep the book and keep the scoreboard and everything for us. But they're in a different conference than us. They're in the MAWPC Western Conference, I think. And so they don't play the same teams as us. There's a lot of the schools that we play don't have men's teams. And a lot of schools that our men's team plays don't have women's teams. So we get to see a large variety of people, and we travel a lot. We had to take a bus to St. Louis to play McKendree, which was not the best experience because it was a 14-hour bus ride, but we made it through. And I'm really excited that I've gotten to have all the opportunities that I have had between swimming and water polo in college, and with it being a divisional NCAA varsity sport. And then I'm also part of what is called our SAC. It's our Student Athletic Advisory Committee on campus, which is made up of athletes from every team. And I have been the vice president for 2 years now. And we get to plan a lot of things. We make a Make-A-Wish Kids dream come true every year, which is what I believe to be the most beneficial part of our committee there. And I have loved every second of being at Gannon and having the opportunity to play both sports for now 5 years.
Amanda, you mentioned something that as a teacher I found really important, is you said that you had to find a way to balance both athletics and schoolwork. Can you kind of talk about how that worked for you, and if there's struggles or how you got yourself organized to a point where you could put in all the time for water polo and swimming, but then also put in all the stuff you need to be able to get your major and then go on to your master's?
Yeah, so we as an NCAA school, they have to make us do study hours as freshmen. So coming in, all the freshmen get together and we study in the library or in one of the conference rooms in the rec center. And we had to do that for, I think it was 10 hours a week. And that was outside of our practice times. And our practice time is limited to 20 hours a week. And I say limited, but that's still a lot. And that is the most important thing that taught me, was how to balance, because I knew I needed to get a certain amount of schoolwork done each day or each week to be ready for all of my classes, to prepare myself and get good grades. And I think that having athletics and having practice times and having a very set schedule was crucial in my development as a student and as an adult, being able to balance my time and get done what I needed to. And it's really helped me to become very structured in what I do and not just lay around. I love to take naps, but I have to plan those out very accordingly to however my schedule needs to work for that day.
Yeah, and I will bring this closer to home. So my brother played for Gannon for a year, and he played water polo and swam for them, and he said the exact same thing. And it was a time commitment times 10. Like, you really have to figure out how to block your schedule accordingly to make sure you are fitting everything in. And at the end of the day, like, if he's thinking about a water polo match that is that afternoon or that weekend, he knows his studies come first. And it wasn't easy, and it's not easy for anyone. But if you can figure that out, it's a great method to get through school effectively, because you have study sessions or study time where they almost force you to do that, and then you have to block your calendar. And if you could do it right, it really helps you. Amanda, talk to us about coaches. So I've known some of the coaches at Gannon, Sherman, a couple others. Alex mentioned having the on deck presence of Ben and James. Great people. I mean, I'm not going to say I'm friends with them, but I know they know their stuff and they are talented individuals. But having someone on deck like that, talk to us about your relationship with your coach and how well they've mentored you and who you are right now.
So when I was originally looking at Gannon, I came in and looked under Coach Sherman, who ended up becoming our assistant athletic director when I was a freshman. And I loved him, and he was a great coach. And he actually supported me through last year every time he was on campus. When we had games in the city, he was always there cheering for us, yelling at the referees for us in the stands. So even him not being a coach had a big presence in our program. And then when I was a freshman and freshman through junior year, I had Sean Morphy as a coach, and him and his brother actually coached us together, and they were phenomenal coaches. And Sean actually got the award for the boys conference, I think coach of the year. And he did a great job of making sure that we were comfortable with everything and that we were doing okay in school. And then he really pushed us in the water. And then this past year, actually maybe two, everything's starting to run together with all the coaches, but we got a new coach, and he really just turned our program around from where we had been. And his name is Shane Unger. He is from Southern California. He used to run the SoCal club program, and he came in and really just taught us so much. He brought in a whole different style of play and really pushed us in practice, even more than we had thought. So most of us were from the Midwest or Eastern Coast, Pennsylvania, Ohio. But when Shane came in, he started bringing that California perspective to our team, and it made a huge difference. We went from being the 7th team in the conference to the 4th team in the conference my junior year. So he was my coach when I was a junior. So that really changed a lot. We hadn't beat Mercyhurst in I don't even know how long, and that was the first time we beat him was under Shane, and he's been an awesome coach, especially through all of the COVID. They're in the teams in the water right now. I'm not practicing with them because I'm practicing with swimming, but he's making sure that they're getting everything that they need to prepare for us to hopefully have a season in the spring.
Well, hopefully he takes a listen to that and hears his high praise, because I know sometimes coaches may not hear it, and hearing the good things probably will just invigorate him to continue coaching that way. Now, both you guys are lefties. You know, I have twins myself, and one of them is also a lefty. But having both you guys be lefties, I don't know if that's common or uncommon. But having lefties on the water polo team can be like a very dangerous thing for an offense and defensive player. But most coaches aren't lefties and don't really coach lefties. Was it hard to learn when a lot of the coaches were more right-hand focused? And this is kind of for either of you guys.
Yeah, like I said, I was primarily a defensive player. I was a whole D at St. X. And while I was decently good at that, I wouldn't say that my coach at St. X really cultivated the lefty in the pool in the way that especially James and Ben did at Ohio State. Like I said, they were very adamant on me being in a certain position on the 4 or 5 side over on the right, the flat in the wing, as a shooter, as an offensive player. And that's what really elevated me as a water polo player, I'd say, just putting me in a position to score and in a position to really assist the offense in any way I could, was, instrumental. And I think that a lot of coaches, it's like kind of like with a goalie. A lot of coaches aren't goalies, and they don't know exactly the ins and outs of how to coach a goalie to really be his best. It's kind of the same with lefties. So I was really lucky to get those 2 guys, James and Ben, to help me out on that. But I know there's a lot of lefties out there that kind of go by the wayside or slip through the cracks because a coach isn't really utilizing them as well.
I know, like with my daughter being left-handed, she whatever she does, it's like I've tried to do everything at practices. Now I'm throwing left hand.
Did we lose him?
Nick, I think we're losing you here. Yeah, so I think the question he's trying to ask is that Alex, and Amanda, growing up, like that lefty experience, you're probably, I don't want to say you're different than other kids, but you're different. People don't realize that. Like the other day, yesterday I was playing miniature golf with my kids, and one of my kids wanted to putt lefty, and I'm like, no, you're a righty. That's how you're supposed to go. And so walk us through, growing up playing baseball and other sports, soccer, being a lefty. How is that different than what you are now, or how did that attribute to what you are now?
Yeah, I mean, it's a gift. There's plenty of righties out there that'll say that we're on the wrong side, but I'd say it's a gift playing all kinds of sports. I'm actually right-footed, so soccer doesn't really apply. But when I played like baseball, basketball, people don't know how to guard lefties. It's just not as natural to them. So you can exploit that a lot, and it's kind of like a small little community you have of lefties. I know there were a couple of guys before me, especially at Ohio State, uh, Brian Muff, who's played with the Squirrels, I know, and Orion Swanson, both really helped me a lot. They were both really good lefties for Ohio State. And it's just, you get a different kind of synergy with those guys than you do with the other side. But it's really just a tool in the toolbox.
Yeah, I actually, when I was in high school, my coach, Zoran Tesic, originally knew that I was a soccer goalie. And even though I was left-footed, I still played goalie in soccer. I played forward and midfield too, but I really loved goal. And then I came into water polo, and he was like, "Oh, you're a goalie. That'll be great. We can train you." And about 2 weeks maybe a week after our first tournament, he looked at me while we were passing and said, "Why are you passing with your left hand?" I said, "Because I'm left-handed." And he goes, "Oh, you're no longer a goalie." And so I can definitely say that it's easy to go unnoticed unless you speak up, or if your coach is really watching. Some people just might not be that lucky to have a coach that ends up noticing. And it is a great advantage because a lot of people don't really realize that most of my team still forgets that I'm a lefty, and so they put up the wrong hand on defense. And I also believe that being a lefty has helped me on defense because I guard with my left hand since most people are right-handed. And it's a lot easier for me to judge where my hand is versus the ball and be able to block a shot or something like that with my dominant hand rather than my non-dominant hand.
Yeah, and there's nothing like getting in the pool and warming up, passing with somebody, and they pass it right to your right hand, and then they're like, "Oh, sorry, forgot you were left-handed." And it happens every single time. No matter how often you play with somebody, they're used to throwing righty, and they'll get it eventually. But it's another important thing, though, having synergy with your team and having them know where to put that ball when you're on offense is so key.
I think it really took me having a daughter who's left-handed to really understand what what teaching a left-handed person is like. At practice now, I am throwing left-handed just so I can make sure I have the mechanics down, so I can teach her the mechanics. I'm trying to shoot basketball left-handed, which is awful looking. Do you have suggestions on ways to help you guys develop as left-handed players? What coaches can do, or talking to other players on how to make things better for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say definitely being able to notice when you have a lefty and use them as a tool. A lot of people will just count them as another head, and that's, if you want to be a competitive water polo team, that is not the way to do it. You gotta, that's like saying, let's put our goalie up and for the penalty kicks. It's just not the way you're going to be most efficient. So being able to realize that and put them in a position to do well for your offense and defense is really important, as well as cultivating a team where all players are comfortable with using both their hands. I mean, that's always the goal, right? Is if you're just as good with your left hand as you are with your right, then it doesn't really matter, does it? But if you get your righties to have a sense of comfort with using their left hand, and the lefties kind of naturally try and get a sense of comfort using their right hand because they get it passed to their right hand a lot. That just elevates the skill of the team overall. So, being able to use both hands is huge, and I think as coaches, if you do that, it's really good for the team.
And I think it takes a little bit extra time to really, as a coach, to help the lefties get through drills and everything, but you just have to stop and think, and we may do things backwards, but once you get the hang of it, it really starts to just come together more. And like you said, Nick, just practicing with your left hand, even if your basketball shot is not good, but practicing with your left hand will help her just develop her skills, and as she grows, she'll just do what you do, and you kind of learn to mirror it, and it helped me develop, at least, my skills by doing everything that the righties do, but I have to think about it and really think about the mechanics and what I'm doing to get it down really well.
So I got one tactical question for you, for both of you, and I've been thinking about this for a couple years now. So a lefty, I agree, is a very dangerous individual in the pool. They have that eye that a goalie typically doesn't cover. Their market share isn't usually a lefty. It's mostly righties, probably majority out there swimming. In a 6-on-5, I want to ask each of you this question, and I've pondered back and forth. So if you were to number out all the players, and it's one, which is if you're looking at the goal, one is the far wing, 2 and 3 are the two in the middle, 4 is the left flat, 5 is the right flat, and then 6 is where you probably sit, or maybe you will sit at 5. 6 is your right wing. And my argument is it better to have a lefty there, or is it better to have a righty there? And the reason why, I know the reason why lefty is important, because you have the angle. It's not a cross face catch and shoot. You have that eye that's better than a righty for sure. But a righty creates that vulnerability for the inside 2 and 2, essentially. You get that cross face pass, that catch pass and pop in or redirect that could create a 5-meter or maybe an exclusion or maybe a goal that has that better. Because when you take that ball as a 6 player, you're taking it inside 2, and you can pop it up to that number 2 to create that vulnerability. I've been argued against me multiple times on my team that that's the worst idea. So I'd like to hear your input. I understand it's going to be one-sided bias because you're both lefties, but what are your thoughts? Alex, you go first. What are your thoughts on having a righty there on the 6th position?
Sure. Well, I think I will say I'll be on the side of lefties. I think it's a lot better to have a lefty on the 6 for, like you said, for the angle and for the shooting possibility, but mainly, I would say when I'm a lefty in 6-on-5 and I'm on the 6, I'm almost never looking to shoot. I'm usually looking for that crossface pass. So what I do is when I catch the ball, I immediately, put the ball directly over my head, like across my body over my head, and take a couple of breaststroke kicks inside 2, so that I can make that pass for the post players. So I don't think that, having a righty versus a lefty there really opens up that crossface pass opportunity any more than just having a lefty that knows what they're doing on the 6. The only other place where I would say a lefty could be an interesting pick or a good pick would be to put them on the 2, so that near post from the 1, down low, where you can essentially do the same thing that you would do for a 6 to a 3 pass, you would do on the left side with a righty to a lefty, and you're double as dangerous because it's easy for both post players to get that pass and score or get the 5-meter.
Amanda, what do you think?
I'm going to say something pretty similar to what Alex just said. This might be giving up a couple of our team's secrets, but they're a little bit older. So when I am on the 6, I had a specific play where I would look directly for my number 3 to be ready for me and catch a pass from me and shoot it really quick crossface into the near side of the post. So that was one specific play that I think was beneficial for anyone. But for me as a lefty, it was easy for me to just get a straight pass to their right hand. And rather than maybe having a righty there who would most likely pass up to the top, where I got really used to, instead of looking to shoot or I would look to shoot right away, but I knew that shot was right there for my number 3 player and give them that pass. And it worked. When they had a great pop, it almost always worked. And then also, like Alex said, I think that having a lefty on number 6 really made our pop work from we would do a pop from the 2 post, and that seemed to work for us. And they would get a pass from our number 4 position as well, but I used to be able to look for them to be open up on that pop, and they could get a pretty good catch and shoot. So I don't think it's necessarily lefty versus righty there, like Alex said, but a smart player who knows where to put the ball.
Yeah, and I'd say one more thing about that. If you're on the 6 and you're a righty, it's just so much harder for you to catch that pass from somewhere cross face and then get in a position where you can throw a quick pass to a post or somewhere else. So maybe if you have a really, really good righty that can whip it, catch that cross face pass and be ready to pass immediately. But usually you have, a lefty that's a lot more comfortable kind of just redirecting that pass almost instead of like a catch and wait and pass. So I think that's another.
Yeah, I totally agree there.
I'm just trying to create arguments with our lefties all the time. So I think that's why.
That's fair.
Well,
and I actually
we can get pretty entitled sometimes. So.
Mike, your question is kind of anyways.
This exact scenario, and he agreed with your approach. Both your approaches, like you need to have a lefty on the 6, and I'm like, and I went through and we were sitting at a restaurant when we were going through deeper. He's like, you know what? After thinking about this for a long time, I think you might be right like 1% of the time. I'm like, okay, I'll take the 1%, Tony. Thank you.
There you go.
Mike, your question's really mute anyways, because that's my spot on the 6, and my look away goal is 95% of the time anyway, so we don't need a lefty there.
That's right.
That's up for debate. Yeah.
Alex, you haven't been in practice lately. I am on fire from that 6.
That's fair.
I've only been out for a month, so I played with you all summer. I can say that was my spot, so.
It's the look away. You've missed the perfection of my look away and goal. It's dangerous. Well, we're starting to come towards the end of it of our podcast, and we're just kind of looking to see if you guys have any advice for players that are looking at college club or varsity, what they can kind of do and what they might want to be looking for to looking at teams to play for.
I think that if you are looking to play at varsity level, I believe that Division II is a great option. It's a little bit less commitment than Division I, but we get some really good competition. And I bet Savon would say the exact same thing about Division III. We play against a lot of Division III teams as well. I've actually played against Savon last year, and I got hit in the face multiple times during her game, and shockingly ended up with no broken nose or black eye. But we have great competition, and Division II schools are typically smaller, and I think that they have a great feel to them, and I feel really close with my teammates and my coaches, and I feel like I have gotten a lot out of playing at a Division II school.
Yeah, I would kind of go along the same lines. I would say priority number 1, just don't stop playing water polo. Just don't stop playing and improving. That's number 1 priority. It doesn't matter where you are. Number 2, I'd say find a team that has the same goals as you. So if that means, you're hanging out with your friends and staying in shape at the same time, then there's a ton of teams around the U.S. and in Ohio that are really good for that, and they're, a little less committal, or they're great, social, and either way you're doing really well in terms of improving slowly and playing with your team. And then if you're looking for a more competitive route, you've got a lot of great teams around Ohio as well. You've got, I guess this isn't in Ohio, but you got your Division Division II teams up in Pennsylvania and such. You've got Ohio State club water polo that's really good. Even if you're on the older side, you got the Masters teams. I play with Columbus Water Polo, and they've given me some really great opportunities to go to places like Masters Nationals, and we actually went to the Spin Lob in February tournament. It's in Austin, named after the podcast. So basically, there's a team for everyone. So don't stop playing and find a team that has the same goals.
I can't wait for them to hear that, Alex. I have a feeling they might be sending us some choicely worded comments.
The Spin Lob tournament?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll just say you're a big fan of the tournament.
Yeah.
And you'll be fine.
Alex, I'm going to come off that comment. I agree with you. Like, I was thinking about this morning, like, if I were to relocate to a different part of the country, like, what would I do to stay in shape? And I'd probably still run and things like that. But I'm like, there's got to be a way I can find a water polo team somewhere. California is easy, but even like, I've been to DC. I played with their Masters teams just in a practice, and it's so competitive. It's so awesome. Like, I'm pretty sure that anywhere I land, I could probably play water polo or try to start a water polo team. It's not easy, for sure, but I think it's out there, and I agree with you. I agree with both your comments on everything like that.
For sure, yeah. The really cool thing about Columbus Water Polo, like, we didn't, like I said, we haven't had the chance to start up like a practice or anything like Cleveland or the Squirrels have. But we've actually really only had like one official practice ever in our existence. We kind of just use our tournaments as our practice, because a lot of our players are not only in Columbus, but they're up in Cleveland, or they're in Indianapolis, or even we got our goalie that lives in New York now. And so it's actually a really good way for us to all stay together and then really play at some elite levels around the country. That's kind of our way of staying together as a group. So it's really cool.
Up here in Erie, they started a Masters team last year, which I was really looking forward to being able to play this year. But since COVID hit, I ended up having another year of eligibility. But I was really excited to see a Masters team develop in the area, because there wasn't anything like that. We had a club team, and we have a lot of high school teams here, but I hadn't seen anything about a Masters team. And so having that develop here, and I don't know if they've been playing it all yet, but hopefully they are able to develop their team and be able to go to tournaments and everything. And I definitely think that there's a spot for everyone, and making something work wherever you are is just how it kind of goes, and finding something, maybe creating a team if you have to. But you can always find people who are like, oh, water polo, I've watched that on the Olympics. It looks really hard, but really fun. I'd love to try it. And that's how you get a team going. So
yeah, that's exactly right. So I want to thank, and I know Nick will agree with me, thank both of you for being on this podcast. It is above and beyond the information provided. It's great that you are both very connected with the sport. You have been since you started playing. And, I've met your family, met your parents. They're great people, and I appreciate that. So continue to drum up the water polo communication, everything that you're doing for the sport. And we will likely have you back on. We've had some repeat people. We'll likely have you back on, maybe individually or maybe together in future podcasts. But I cannot thank you enough.
Absolutely. Thanks for the invite.
yes, thank you for having us. It's been a great night.
I'm sure we'll see you in the pool at some time.
Hopefully one day, hopefully sooner than later, for sure. Can't wait.
Right.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right. So as we close up here, let's just talk about the Spin Lob. So Spin Lob is produced and recorded live by Mike Jones and Nick Helwig. It's supported by the Ohio Squirrels Water Polo Club. You'll never be too old to get in the game. Go nuts. And also by Marlins Water Polo. For the love of the game, there's always Marlins Water Polo. And our theme music is produced by Jason Shaw at audioandaudix.com. See you next time on the Spin Lob.